Demetrius, so that everyone can get to know you, let's dive a bit about into your background. What led you on specifically the path of game dev, emulation, modding, preservation, that sort of thing? And how did that lead on to a career in YouTube?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, there's a few kind of different facets to the question there, and I'll try to bundle all up into one because there is definitely a lot of overlap there. But ultimately, I'm someone that grew up in the 80s, in my teenage years, and my dad brought home a Commodore VIC-20. So I'm going back to the 8-bit,
I
micro days,
remember
right?
it.
And ever since I was a kid, I've had this passion about writing code, programming, because I think it stems from when I first experienced what a computer was. This was back in the 8-bit micro days, so this was way before modern, GUIs and things like that. So when you turn a computer on back then, you just got this like blinking cursor, right? And it's like, well, what do I do with this? And I remember when I first experienced what a computer was, I had a manual there as well, and it basically taught you a programming language, which was the basic language at the time. And I was really into the fact that you could program this thing to build your own games with, right? So you kind of build small games and things, and get familiar with how code works and how to structure a basic program and stuff. And I realized from a very young age I was very into computers. I mean, you could say that I was a nerd, right? I mean, I absolutely was. But I had this like passion
I'm
for
proud.
computers.
Yeah.
And it kind of just started from there, honestly. Like I went into high school, and I did computer classes. We had like Apple IIs in the classroom, and at the time we did I think it was, I can't remember what the programming language was, but we're doing various programming languages at high school. And then I got into college. I did a computer science degree in college, and I did C++ programming, and all throughout that kind of track of education, my biggest passion with computers was video games, of course, right? So I really loved what people were doing with 8-bit micros, and later on 16-bit computers like the Amiga and stuff like that. So I always loved video games and how games were made, and how things were done under the covers. So honestly, that's kind of how it all started for me from a game development perspective. The emulation side is a little more interesting because it happened really, again, when I just started tinkering around with an original Xbox that I got in 2001 after it launched, maybe a few months after it launched. Because I remember when I got an OG Xbox, I was playing Halo, as most of us were at the time, and after a couple of months of playing Halo, I kind of got bored, and there was no other games that I could afford at the time, because this was back in Australia, and video games, I mean, back then they cost a lot of money. Now they cost even more. So I had an Xbox and a copy of Halo, and I basically, platinumed the hell out of Halo, and I was kind of bored of it. So I was looking at this Xbox thinking to myself, man, this would be really cool if there's a way that I could run like old NES, Super NES games, because this is like the ultimate device that can sit in my living room. It's got 4 controller ports, so if I can figure out a way to get like emulators running on this thing, this would be really awesome, just from a personal perspective, right? So I realized at the time, I started digging in, and there was a underground Xbox homebrew community that were already building these emulators on. And I was like, well, I want to get involved in this, because my main goal at the time wasn't really to kind of make a name for myself, or put my name out there or anything like that. My whole goal was so I could run Super Metroid on my hacked Xbox in my living room, because I didn't want to hook up the Super NES at the time. So I bought a mod chip for the OG Xbox. I soldered it all in and got it all set up, and I was like, right, what do I do now? And I started going down the rabbit hole of downloading the SDK and downloading all these emulator source codes and things like that. And I started learning how to port these emulators to the original Xbox. And from there, I just kind of got really good and skillful at porting and game development. I understand how things started to work from a not only from a game design perspective, but also from an emulation perspective and a coding perspective, right? So it kind of just started from all there. Like the emulation side and the game dev side really kind of started from the OG Xbox. It kind of got me set in place where I was like, this is really awesome. I like this stuff. But it wasn't really until 2018 when I officially entered the video game industry. So during that time between 2018 and the OG Xbox days, I was just sitting kind of in the background as a homebrew developer. Like I wasn't I wasn't in the industry at all. I didn't know anyone in the industry, and you could even argue that the things that I was doing weren't entirely legal from a legality standpoint, right? So I never felt like I'd never really felt like it would be something that would end up being my kind of main career. But as time kind of went on and YouTube and social media and things like that became more prevalent, I started getting into the YouTube side. And the YouTube side was really more about just more of a personal diary for me, kind of just showing off some of the things that I was doing, from a programming perspective and whatnot. So again, it wasn't really anything that I'd set out to, to make a name for myself initially. It was really more about just documenting what I'm doing, and because things that I like doing that I think are cool, I want to make a video on it and just preserve it and have it somewhere I can show someone else, right? But the YouTube side ultimately was what got me into the industry, because if it wasn't for YouTube, companies like Night Dive and Limited Run, they were the two companies that originally approached me and said, hey, you obviously know what you're doing. You're very good at what you do. So, would you be interested in joining the industry and coming to work for us? And that's kind of ultimately how I got into the industry. So again, a lot of different milestones and kind of touch points to get there, but it all kind of, it's a good question because all the things you asked about kind of all mix in together in the same type of thing. But I guess that's the elevator pitch on how I ended up getting here. So
that's quite the journey.
I talk to a lot of people that work in the industry, from junior developers that have come straight out of college to old boomers like myself that have been around for a long time. And everyone has their own story, and usually it's not, I went to college and I did a computer design course and I ended up, getting a job at, company XYZ. It's usually like, hey, I did this cool thing on the side and I've got this GitHub page where I've got all these cool projects I'm working on. It's usually like getting recognized by some other means rather than kind of the traditional path of, going to college or studying for it.
It's actual experience, though. I think so many employers nowadays, a certificate is literally just becoming a name on your CV. They want to see actual real life experience with it. And if you've been doing it for such a long time, of course you're going to become an authority in it, and obviously your skills cover many different areas in there. But
the one reason why this is kind of a fortuitous episode is because I was going back over my own kind of personal content timeline, if you will, for the year, and going, how do I want to refocus? Because I feel like I'm getting a little too caught up in trying to catch algorithmic wins with certain things, and going, why don't I just get back to what I like doing the most, which is the older games. And I started digging around in like N64 and NES emulators and stuff like that, which are a little bit more complex, I guess, than other ones, or can be, so I've heard. And so I've become a little bit partial to RetroArch, but that may be kind of the McDonald's of emulators, where it's just sort of the first thing that pops in people's heads, or DuckStation or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was, because I know it has like a bit of a blind spot with PS2 without some help. Is there like a perfect emulator in your mind? Or do you kind of have to piecemeal, the best things that do the best of each one, just kind of make your own DAW of sorts, but with emulators?
Honestly, RetroArch is good, but I don't want to be pedantic, but RetroArch itself isn't an emulator. It's like a front end that, you download all the different cores, right? But but let's. I know the things you're saying. I understand what you mean by. And look, for me, RetroArch is